Welcome to episode 29 of the tutorial series Livewire 3 from scratch. My name is William Juma. In this episode, I would like us to just learn about having reusable components, and in this case, we are going to talk about reusable inputs in Livewire 3. So let us go ahead and create Laravel component. That is what we are going to use. So I would like us to run the command php artisan make component. The name of our component, I want to call it input, like that. And so we have created the input component. I would also want to create another component which we will call button, that way. So we have two components. We can actually be able to find them in resources, and then views, and then components. So this is where we have those components. But of course, whenever you create a Laravel component, it's important for me to mention that we also usually have a view created. So inside here, you can see we have input and we have button, the ones that we have created today. So basically, the input will be created with sort of like a class and a view, like that. So let us go ahead and modify our input component and be able to have an input here. So what I want us to do, I want us to have a div just to be able to give this component some space. So a div with a class of MB3. We are using bootstrap, and then we can be able to close our div. After that, whenever you have a component, probably you will have a label. In this case, I'm not going to pass in the placeholder. Let us just use the label. And here we will be able to pass the label programmatically or dynamically. So what I'm going to pass here is just something we're going to call label, like that. After that, I want us to have the input. So we're going to have input, and then the type of the input, I want it to be dynamic also, and also the name. So you have name, and we are going to just set it to a variable name, like that. And then the type, again in a similar fashion, type. And this, you'll be able to work on a select few types of inputs, not all of them. So we have name, we need to separate them using semicolons. And then we need to have the quotation marks, that is. So we have input name, we pass in a name, and then the type, we pass in a type of the button. So of course you can be able to have the inputs of maybe email and a type of text and type of number. Those ones you can be able to easily do and work with them using this method. And then of course we can be able to give it a class of form control. And then after that, I also would like to pass attributes, and these are any other thing that will be able to be passed in our input, like disabling, like even required, or all those other things that we can be able to have. So I'm just going to pass here attributes, like that, and then we will close our input, like that. So let me just extend this such that it is visible enough, so we have something of that sort. And then I want to also handle the validation errors. So what I'm going to do it in a similar fashion in which we have done previously. At error, and then the name still we pass it programmatically, so the error belonging to this variable that we are calling name, and then we can have at end error like that. Then after that, inside here we can have a span, maybe with a class of text danger like that. And inside here we will pass the message, and this one we will just have it in a similar way we have always had the error messages. So here we can just have message like that. And I believe our input is looking nice, only that we need to pass several things from our component, the Livewire component, which are this that we are having here. So you pass the name, you pass the type, and you pass the label as props. So I'm going to just write props, and then inside here we are going to pass name, and then label, and then we will also pass type. So all those three we will be forced to pass them from our component. I also would like to go and check the button component, and we can be able to do something about that. And what I want us to do is to be able to just have a button inside here with a class. So button, and you give it a class. I want this class to be, because bootstrap buttons usually begin with btn, but then after that you can be able to pass anything else. So I want to just maybe do something about that. I can be able to just pass here. I've called it class. Not very ideal, but let I just have it like that. And then of course you have type, submit. And then of course we can be able to pass in the button data using the slot. So I can be able to just have a slot here, because sometimes you might be able to desire to pass just a little bit more than the button name. So in this case we can just have slot. You might even decide to pass loaders into our button, and so on and so forth. So we will have it like that. So now we have the two things in the button. We will ensure we pass class, and then of course everything will be fine. I would like to create a component that we are going to use to test these ones, and so I'm going to, inside our terminal, I'm going to just create a Livewire component, php artisan make Livewire, and then let us call it user details. I've created very many components, and just trying to be creative so that we do not have some sort of clash. So that creates our component, and I would like to create a route for this component that we have just created. So here I will import the user details Livewire class like that, and then of course we will have a route for it. So here we can have user details. Maybe I should have put hyphen. It's okay, we can have it like that, and the class is going to be user details like that. I will save. I would like us to open our component in Chrome. Let us go ahead and do that, and we will open here, and then what I'm going to type here is user hyphen details like that. And of course we have our component loading, and then inside the user details method inside the user details view, in this case, I would like to have some forms. So in this case, I will open it, and maybe here I can be able to just pass user details like that, and then I can be able to go ahead and have a form here. So maybe we can have form like that, and then we will close the form tag. We can say when we submit, we can say wire submit, and then we can say we are submitting to a method called save inside our Livewire class. I've not created it, but we will create. And then we can now be able to use our inputs. So in this case, I can be able to have this and say x hyphen input like that. And if we have it that way, we are supposed to pass in the name. So in this case, we can say name, and we can pass the name of the first input. So we can say name, so the username, the name of the user. And then we also are supposed to pass the other information, which is the type. So in this case, I want this to be a text input field. And then there is one more thing that we are supposed to pass, which is a label. And for the label, we are going to pass name, beginning with a capital letter like that. So basically, once we have it like this, if I'm to refresh, it seems as if it's taking a while. It seems as if we have an error. Yes, it says unexpected end of the file. Yes, I'm supposed to end this input of ours, I believe, like that. And let us try again and see. Now it is displaying nicely. You can see we have an input spanning the entire of our space, and we have the label as name. So basically that one is displaying perfectly. And of course, for us to be able to add a little bit of interactivity, we can add wire model name like that. And I think that is very nice. Of course, we can be able now to duplicate this and have other inputs. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to just copy what we have here, and I will have several of them just to emphasize on what we are doing. So in this case, the next input, I want it to be email, and the name also is email, and then of course the type is email, and then the label is email. Maybe we can write address like that. Refresh. Even that one is displaying perfectly. And then of course we can go ahead and have another input. Probably I want to have the phone number. I want us to have the phone, so here I'm going to change this to phone, and the name will also be phone. The type is number, and then the label is a phone number. Like that. When we refresh, even that one is captured nicely. And then probably the last thing I want to ask from this user is maybe a password. So here we can have wire model password. The name is password, and then the type is password, and then the label is also password, like that. Again, if we are to refresh, even that one is displaying nicely. And maybe I can be able to just add something to our form such that we center it a little bit. So here maybe on our form I can be able to have a class of offset 3 column 6, like that. If we are to refresh, the form is a little bit centered, and that is nice. I want us to have a button here that you use to submit, and remember we created a button component, so we can be able to also go ahead and include it here. So we can say X button, like that, and then we can close it, because this one we have to pass some slot data. So here I want us to have the button as a save. So in this case the button is save, and I need to pass something to the class. Remember what we did set there. So in this case we can say class, and because we had set btn only on the other side, and then we passed every other thing dynamically, here I can just pass btn hyphen success, like that. If I'm to refresh, let me see if the changes are okay. And we have an error. So yes, I'm supposed to receive the class as props inside our component. So let me go ahead and do that. So inside button.blade, I need to have above here props, at props, and then inside here I have an array of values, and the only thing that I'm going to pass here is class. I think that we solve every challenge that you're having regarding this one. So when I refresh, now we have a button. I want us to go ahead and go to our Livewire class. In this case, we have called it user details. I believe it is this one. And here I would like to declare the properties. So public name, and then we have email, and then we have password, and then we have phone in no specific order. Then I want us to have a method, because we had a method which we called save. So I want us to have public save, or maybe just function save. You can also have it just like that. And then here I want us to just dd saving, like that. I would like to close this with a semicolon and then try it up and see what happens. So when I refresh and I click save, obviously you can see it's saying saving. I also want us to go ahead and include validation, such that we just check if everything is working as per the way it is supposed to work. So here I want us to have this validate, and inside here I want us to validate our inputs. So in this case we are going to have the first one, which is name. And for name, I do not want to do a lot of things. I just want all of them to be required, like that. So I'll just copy all the others, and then email. I'm not going to, maybe we can, for email we can check, and then this one is phone, and then this one is password. Maybe we can just check that it has to be a valid email. What am I doing? Yes, to be a valid email, like that. And then maybe the password, we can give it a minimum of some characters. So we can have minimum 8, like that. So once we have it like that, I would like us to attempt to submit our form without those ones. So when we click save, you can see all the validation errors are being captured. So if I type something for the name, William, and then the email address, William at example gmail.com, and then the phone number. This one, our validation is not strict, so I will just type in something, and then our password. And as you can see, even the password as we are typing in, it's behaving like a password field. So when I click save, again you can see it is saving, because the saving method is being returned immediately after the validation. So in this case, the validation is passing, and we can be able to process our form and save it. Thank you very much for following this tutorial episode up until this point. If you have not subscribed to this channel, I ask that you may please subscribe. It is a way of supporting me to be able to bring more content like this to you. And if you like the video, you can give it a thumbs up. You can also go ahead and share. And if you have a question, you can shoot below in the comments. Thank you very, very much.